Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And we're going to revisit the Tavistock debacle. If you remember, this was the London clinic that was sterilising children on an industrial scale. Often these children would come in with many varied problems, but the Tavistock treated them all the same. It was a gender issue. And so they treated them, often without the benefit of seeing a consultant, just handing out treatments left, right and centre. No psychological or psychiatric examination proved necessary. It turns out that a foreign health service, the Irish Health Service, was warned about how dangerous this clinic was several years ago and stopped referring children there. And yet they were allowed to treat children here for several years after. Thankfully it's been closed now. But let's have a look at this article to see what was going on. So, Tavistock scandal. Foreign Health Service was warned about the unsafe child transgenderism clinic in 2019. 3 years ago. And there you have some mentally ill people. A Foreign Health Service was warned that the UK's now infamous child transgenderism clinic at Tavistock was unsafe back in 2019. Ireland's Socialised Healthcare Service, the HSE, was warned back in 2019 that children were being exposed to unsafe practices by the UK government's Tavistock Child Transgenderism Clinic. Not just Irish children, it must be said, all children. All children. I've done the video, you can go and look at it, I'll put a link in the comments. The revelation comes shortly after UK's officials announced they were shutting the service down due to a report finding that the clinic was not a safe or viable long-term option. Now, in summary, children were turning up, sometimes at their own behest, sometimes at the behest of woke parents, demanding treatment because they thought they were transgender. And so treatment would begin. Often on a single visit, they would be handed puberty blocking drugs. They would be, within weeks, fast-tracked onto sex hormone treatments. And sometimes within a year, there'd be operations. They hadn't seen a consultant. They hadn't had a psychiatric or psychological evaluation. This treatment was done to children who were as young as 10 or 11 years of age. They didn't know what they were. It's now coming out that so many, 90% of them, are having major psychological issues. The reversals are innumerate reversals. Famously, Kira Bell sued them because it turns out that she wasn't trans. But they pushed her down this line so fast without any kind of warning of what this treatment would do to her body. They sterilised thousands of children and no one is being held responsible. It's an appalling mess, and I hope that the court cases rip them apart and that all these children are awarded vast amounts of money, but not from the health service. These vast amounts of money must come from the individual doctors that did this to them. Anyway, according to a report by the Irish Independent, these findings mirror the opinions of some Irish medical experts who expressed concern about the NHS clinic, which the Irish State Service frequently offloaded children to all the way back until 2019. Documents seen by the publication reportedly claim that a meeting held on March 20th, 2019, medics discussed the unsafe service Tavistock was providing at a children's hospital in Dublin, with one medic present at the meeting, Dr Paul Moran of Ireland's National Gender Service, claiming that he and other doctors recommended that the use of the clinic should be terminated with immediate effect, and that should have sent alarm bells ringing. But it didn't, because the Tavistock has a monopoly in this country. And what does any monopoly do? It wants to maintain its grip on the purse strings. Ka-ching. It was making a lot of money because everyone was sending their children to them. In particular, Dr Moran argued that while Ireland's adult service was developed with psychiatry at its central component, as I've said, the UK's children's service favoured a non-psychiatry model, i.e. the children turn up and they just go right off with the ghoulies. And it did not sufficiently question children. It didn't do its job. It didn't safeguard children. It abused them. It harmed them. it sterilised them. The psychiatrist's decision was written to a senior member of the health service following the British investigation into the service, describing it as a watershed moment in the scandal. Now, why can the Irish do this, but the NHS in this country did not? But as I say, there's a corrupt core at the Tavistock, and it wasn't giving up what it had without a fight. Speaking to the Irish Independent, Dr. Moran described his experience of dealing with adults who'd been through Tavistock as children, saying that the adult National Gender Service would sometimes have to work with those left in a heap by the UK clinic because they were pushed by an agenda because of the ists and phobes that they would have been called by the trans lobby. And that was half the problem. You have this overly bigoted trans lobby that instills fear because people listen to them instead of treating them for what they are, which is mentally ill. They are the mentally ill, and they should be given no voice. They should be treated, not given a platform. There was this total focus on blockers and hormones, but the bigger problems that were pressing in their lives were ignored. The bigger problems were their mental issues, and nobody was treating the mental issues. By the time they got to us, they were often a couple of years sitting in their rooms self-harming. Well, of course, because nobody's treating their mental issues. Quick, get them on there. Get these things inside them. Cut that off. Put them in a dress. Put them in a bit of lipstick and send them on their way. That was the Tavistock way. Dr. Moran also noted a rapid increase in the number of children with autism presenting to specialists as transgender, rising from around 20% 5 years ago to as many as 90% today. Because it's a mental issue. These people are mentally ill, not physically ill. And you cannot cure mental illness by hacking at the body. And these people know this, but still they do it because they're pressured by the trans lobby. And the trans lobby are abusers and should be treated no differently than any other set of terrorists. The National Gender Service psychiatrist is now pushing for the HSE to integrate child suffering with gender dysphoria into a unified psychiatric-based service with adults. Dr. Moran appears to believe that Ireland's medical service is likely to make similar mistakes in regards to the treatment of children in the future, with the medics saying that there's a significant ideological component to treatment policy. Indeed, there is. You cannot treat this. You cannot treat a mental problem physically. Now, he identifies this, but the NHS in Britain do not. And the NHS in Britain are pushed by the likes of the terrorists at Stonewall. They're pushed by the abusers at Stonewall. Stonewall want children to be the foot soldiers in their war. Stonewall are evil, the trans lobby are evil, and children are suffering as a result of the sick, degenerate, mentally ill weirdos. And it's time we said no. Anyway, I'm going to come up before I get too angry on it. What's appalling, what is truly, truly appalling about all of this is that despite they saying they're going to close Tavistock because it's a danger to children, right? The government have said they're closing the Tavistock because it's a danger to children. The NHS have said they're closing Tavistock because it's a danger to children. They haven't yet closed it. And they've admitted they're still treating children there today. And it's been announced that the health service will continue to send children to the Tavistock until 2023. Despite it being completely and officially described as unsafe. So you have the NHS and the British government deliberately endangering children. Where do we go with it? Speak to your MP. Write to your MPs. Find out why they are part of a group who want to endanger children. And then vote for someone else, for God's sake. Anyway, I'll finish there. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscription button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, safeguard your children, and goodbye.